let's talk about landing pages. If you're doing any kind of advertising online, you're using a landing page. Doesn't matter if you're doing it intentionally or not. If you're sending ads somewhere on your site or somewhere online, you've got a landing page. Now, landing page is going to be the pivotal part of your marketing campaign, regardless of whether you're running Facebook, Google ads, whatever the case may be. Your landing page is going to be one of the primary dictators of how well you are converting and getting new leads, sales, signups, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So today I'm going to walk you through one of my own landing pages. Now this landing page converts at about 20%, which is quite above the average. And if you're getting a 20% conversion rate on your landing page, you're going to be most likely doing pretty well on that. So I'm going to walk you through the kind of the anatomy of my landing page and the reasons why I've done certain things, and we're going to go over some best practices and show you how you can set up a landing page that is going to really make a difference and help you increase your conversions. So let's get started right now. Alright, thanks for sticking with me. So this here is a landing page that I am using for a Google AdWords campaign, and I just went through and checked the stats, and for the month of December so far, it is getting an 18.75 conversion rate. And if you know anything about conversion rates, generally Google search will tell you the average conversion rate is going to be around like 2.5%, and anywhere from like 5 to 10% would be considered a really good conversion rate. So the fact that this particular landing page is converting at close to 20% is really good. And honestly, I've had some weeks where this was as high as 30% or more. So this one has been performing really well for me. Now, I set this up about 2 months ago, and I've gotten quite a few leads off of it. And it's a little bit different than the one I had before prior to this, but I kind of used a similar strategy on the previous landing page I had, and it also did well. So we're going to walk through this landing page, and I'm going to kind of explain how I set it up. So we'll start right at the top and then go down to the bottom here. So at the very top, we've got the logo and the menu bar. Now, actually, you really don't need to have your logo and menu bar on this page. In fact, probably one of the first things I'm going to do when I make some modifications to this and split test it is actually remove the logo and menu bar from this page, because basically what that's doing is right away it's giving people options of other things they can do when they come to the page. So they can come to the page and all of a sudden start clicking around on these links up here, and then they're away from the landing page, which is really what you don't want to do. The number one rule of landing pages is you want to have a clearly defined focus for your landing page. That means you want to give the visitor as few potential options as possible of things they can do on the page, so that you can focus them on getting them to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether that's buy a product, sign up for a newsletter, or request a quote, whatever. You want to direct them to that specific task and nothing else. Otherwise, you're gonna lower your conversion rates right off the bat, just because you're gonna have people who decide to start clicking around and doing other stuff on your site, or you just have people who aren't even sure what they're supposed to do and they just end up bouncing, and that's pretty much just wasting your advertising dollars right there. So, as far as the menu and logo goes, generally speaking, I would probably not use that on a landing page. I kind of just left it on this one because I was being lazy about it, and also because I had linked to this one in the navigation right now. In a previous video, I kind of showed you how I rebuilt the site really quickly. I think we might have even gone over this page in that video. I don't totally remember, but basically, the theme I had on this site before broke, and we were already working on a redesign, so I just needed a temporary solution so I could get my landing pages basically back up, because I was running ads to those. And so I came up with this, and actually this landing page has been performing brilliantly ever since I launched it, and I'm probably going to keep this page as is once we flip the new design over anyway, just because it's been going so well. But I do want to split test some things, and one of those is removing this menu bar and logo at the top. So that's the first thing you can consider when doing a landing page. You really don't need to have that there, because you want to limit their options. Now, Next thing is you got your opening headline and your tagline. So really what you want to be doing here is telling the person how you're going to solve their problem, whether that's with a product or a service or information, whatever it is. You want to make it clear to the person how you're going to solve their problem. When people are clicking on ads, they're usually looking for a solution to their problem. So as soon as they get to your page, you want to grab their attention by telling them how you're going to solve their problem. So strong headline is super important, and tagline is kind of supports that. And this one, for example, I've actually been using for quite a long time and has tested really well. So I just continue using it, even though it's kind of innocuous. But anyway, so headline you want to have featured prominently, and you're either going to want that on the left or all the way across. People generally read from left to right, so the upper left and the lower right position of your hero or above the fold area is going to be most important places to put stuff. So you can see the lower left section, we just put this image here just to fill out the space, because people actually don't really care about this section of the page that much. And then right here we get down to the next section. So this is again kind of the credibility indicator slash value proposition. So no matter whether you're selling a product or a service, you've got to have some kind of unique value proposition. That is, some reason why people need to use you or need to use your product over anyone else. No matter what kind of industry you're in or what kind of product you're selling, chances are you've got competition out there. So you need to have a way of differentiating yourself from other people. And it can't be hyperbole. So you can't say, we're the best at converting WordPress sites, because it doesn't really mean anything. And you've got to have your unique value proposition has to really mean something. So best, fastest, cheapest, those kind of things you don't really want to use as your unique value proposition. Rather, you want to use something like an actual price that your stuff is priced at. We do a good job. That's a good thing to have. We've completed hundreds of projects. Money back guarantee, that's a rock solid thing that is a good reason for people to order with us, because they know that it's going to be safe and they'll get their money back if it doesn't work out for whatever reason. So right here in the bottom right quadrant of the fold, super important that you get your value proposition in here, because this is a place where people's eyes are going to be drawn to. And your value proposition is pretty much one of your most important parts of the landing page. It's basically the reason why that person needs to convert on your page. So we've got ours right here. We came up with 3 different bullet points, and this is again something you could test. This would be a good thing to split test, is these things right here, because different ordering, different items here, different headline here, all these things can affect conversion. So based on what I've got right now, this page is converting pretty well, so I haven't really needed to change these, but this would definitely be a testable element on this page. And then of course right below that we've got the call to action. So in this case, the desired result we're trying to get with this page is to get people to fill out this form and get a quote. As you can see, if you look through the entire page, there's nothing else they can really do outside of this top bar. There's nothing else they can really do except for fill out a quote. There's no other external links on the page or anything else. All they can do is either click this button, which takes them to the form, or continue scrolling on the page, which takes them to the form. So that's pretty much the deal. So we got the call to action here above the fold, and then that brings you down to this, which is basically the main section of the page. And as you can see, again, there's not really a lot to it, and that's because we're trying to keep it simple as possible. Now, one of the things that I've started doing recently is utilizing these frequently asked question boxes. So this is a WordPress page using the Divi theme, and in Divi they have these frequently asked question modules that you can easily set up and plug into your page. And the good thing about this is it lets you put a lot more information on the page without actually taking up a lot of space or making people even read it if they don't want to. So all these are good things, like why I choose us, how much does it cost, how long does it take, Will my site look the same? Will I own the site? Will I be able to see it before you launch it? Will it be mobile friendly? These are all after running this campaign for over a year, these are all questions that I've gotten asked a ton of times, and this is all important information for people to know pre-sale. So basically what I've done here is we've concatenated it all into these boxes, and basically people can pick and choose whether they want to actually read certain items here or not. So some people might not care how long it takes. They don't need to read this. Some people might be in a hurry to get it done, so they should read this. Some people don't care as much about the cost. Other people do. So basically people don't have to spend their time looking through these if it's not something that is important to them. But the good thing is these are all things that basically pre-educate the person. So by having these here, it's going to be less back and forth I'm going to have later on, because people are asking me these questions. Because if they had any of these questions, they would already find the answer right here. So this is a super good way of making the page much shorter and much more focused, and answering a ton of questions without taking up a lot of space. So again, I like to have this right next to the fill out a quote box, because again, it kind of any hesitations they might have about filling out a quote are probably going to be answered here, because I've really got try to identify some of the main touch points and address those all right here. And obviously that's working pretty well because the page is converting well. So got the quote right there. And then basically the only other thing we've got on the page is below that some social proof / credibility indicators, which is some testimonials from people that I've done conversions on before. And these are real testimonials that are from my Google business account. So these are all legit. And we only went with a couple of them. You don't really need to overdo it or do anything crazy. Just a few testimonials so people know that, hey, this is a real company. They've actually done this before. Other people have paid them money to do this and we're happy with it, so it's probably safe to order with them. And that's literally it. So they cannot go any farther down the page than this. Then their only choice after reading these, if they do choose to do that, is to go back up and fill out the request a quote form. You see there's no other contact form on the page, no email address, no link to click an email address, no phone number, nothing. All we do is tightly focus them on getting them to fill out this form and submit it. Now, another thing to keep in mind is that this is a very simple form. All we are requiring them to enter is their name and email address, because we want to have as little friction as possible in getting them to request that quote. So one of the issues I've run into is that a lot of people who fill out this form don't even tell me the website that they want to get converted. So it's really difficult to give somebody a quote on converting their website to WordPress when you don't even know what the site is. But I've actually kind of found that to be a benefit, because for one thing, it's one less field they have to fill out initially. And another thing is it gives me an opportunity to engage the client or the potential client in some back and forth before actually giving them a quote. So they fill out a request for a quote. It comes to me. I see that they haven't entered a actual website, so I can go and check it out and actually see how much it's going to cost to do the project. So instead, that lets me send them back a little introduction and then ask them to forward the URL so I can take a closer look at it, and that helps start a little bit of dialogue before we dive right in and give them the quote. And I've actually found that in a lot of cases those people tend to convert even better if I've kind of asked them a question or had some back and forth with them first before just delivering them the quote. Because in a lot of these cases they do give me the URL, and basically I can just look at their site and send them right back a quote in the first email I send to them. So it's kind of interesting, the dynamic on how that works. But again, we make this form as simple as possible to fill out, because we really don't want to have any kind of friction for the people who are filling it out. And that seemed to work really well. That's another thing that you could test. For example, if your landing page is converting poorly and you've got a form with a ton of fields on it, that's an easy thing to test, is just removing some of those fields and making it easier to fill out the form. You can always, as long as you've got their name and their email address, you can always go back and follow up with them and ask them for any information they didn't give you. Especially like phone number, I know is a big one, because people really don't like giving out their phone number as easily as they do their email address. So that one can be a big one to test, whether or not you require a phone number or not. A lot of times taking off their phone number requirement can really help you increase your conversion rates right there. So those are all important things to keep in mind, and definitely stuff worth testing. So that's pretty much it. Basically what you're going to notice about this page is that it's super simple. There's not really a lot of text. In fact, there's no, other than these frequently asked questions, there's not even like any real paragraphs at all. There's only a couple sentences on the whole thing, right here and right here, basically just these like little subheadings. And that's pretty much it. So we keep it really simple. We make it easy to read. We want to make our highlight our most important points and our unique value propositions, and really basically what we're doing is cutting right to the chase, and that makes it easier for people to process the page when they get to it, and gives them less decisions to make. So basically they come to this page, they get all the information they need to make a decision right when they get to the page without even really having to do much, and then all they have to do is decide, okay, do I fill out the form or do I leave this site and go to another site? And right now 20% of the people who arrive on this page are making the decision to fill out this form. So this is a successful page, in my opinion. Again, depending on your industry, that could vary, but for me, 20% conversion rate on a campaign like this is pretty good. So that's basically exactly what we're looking for. So like a lot of times when I'm doing this for other people, the issue is that they will try to add too much stuff into the landing page, and that will dilute your messaging and make it harder for people to figure out what they're actually supposed to do. So like, for example, I had a client a few weeks ago who wanted me to build a landing page for him. So I set him up a nice landing page, kind of in the same similar style. They were also a business where they were trying to get people to schedule a consultation. So basically all the person had to do is essentially just fill out their information and request a consultation, and then they could pretty much take it from there. So I built them a nice page, and they liked the overall layout, but at the same time they came back to me with a list of stuff to change on the page that was like 20 items long, and a lot of it was stuff like add in a newsletter sign up form, add a referral bonus package thing, like refer a friend and get 100 referral dollars or something like that, so all these different type of things on the page. So basically what they're doing is taking a really tightly focused landing page and diluting it out to the point where it's basically more like a just a general homepage. And I can make the changes, but at the same time I pretty much know that they're gonna have a problem with conversion rate on the page, because ultimately they've ended up with so many choices on the page, it's going to make it hard to focus people into getting them what they actually want them to do, which is just to fill out a form. So that's like really what you got to remember when you're building a landing page is identify what you want them to do, use a clear headline they see it right when they get to the page, and you tell them exactly what you're going to do to solve their problem. And then down in the lower right hand quadrant of the fold here, you want to have your credibility indicators and your call to action, which in this case is a button which leads down here to fill out the form. Or you could even have the form right here, or you could have this pop up to a form. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. And then definitely a tip would be to utilize this frequently asked questions thing, as it's a good way to fit a lot of information into your landing page without it bothering people who don't need to see it, and it's going to actually save you some time with people asking you the same questions over and over again pre-sale. So it's always good to save time on that. So anyway, that's basically the anatomy of this page. I've got a ton of leads and projects from it, and it converts really well. And it's a pretty simple formula, and you could use this basically the same format on just about any type of lead gen landing page. So, highly recommend that you consider those things and try them out on your next landing page. And I hope you get high conversions from it.